The night I walked into that sauna, I thought it would be just another quiet attempt to sweat away the weight of a long life I hadn't figured out yet. I never imagined that sharing that small, fog-filled room with one woman would crack open memories I had buried for years, or that her words would echo in my mind long after the steam cleared. Some moments don't arrive loudly. They slip in silently and change you forever before you even realize what's happening. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the idea that strangers can sometimes save us in ways even our closest friends can't, take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this exist because people still believe hearts can heal. My name is Matthew Collins, and this happened in a small mountain town in Colorado, where I had gone to escape myself more than anything else. Life hadn't been cruel in obvious ways, but it had been quietly exhausting. I was 38, divorced, carrying the silent guilt of a marriage that failed not because of betrayal, but because of emotional absence. I had learned how to survive, but not how to feel. After the divorce, I threw myself into work, avoided phone calls, skipped holidays, and told myself that numbness was the same as peace. It wasn't. The resort I stayed at was modest, tucked between pine trees and snow-dusted trails, the kind of place people visit when they want to breathe again. On my third evening there, after a long hike that left my legs trembling, I wandered into the wellness area. The indoor sauna was nearly empty, the air heavy with heat and silence. I hesitated before stepping inside, that familiar instinct to avoid shared spaces, but something pushed me forward anyway. She was already there, seated on the opposite bench, her presence calm and grounded. Her name, I would later learn, was Rebecca Moore. She looked to be in her early 40s, with tired eyes that had clearly seen too much life, yet still held something gentle. There was no awkward tension, no sudden movement, just two strangers breathing the same warm air, both clearly there to release something unspoken. The heat pressed against my skin, and as minutes passed, memories I didn't invite began to surface. The silence made room for thoughts I usually drowned out with noise. I felt exposed, not physically but emotionally, as if the steam was peeling away layers I'd carefully built. Rebecca shifted slightly, and the quiet between us deepened, not uncomfortable, just heavy with something unnameable. Eventually, without looking directly at me, she spoke in a soft, steady way, not starting a conversation but releasing a truth into the room. She said that some places make people tell the truth because there's nowhere to hide. Her words weren't dramatic, but they hit me with unexpected force. I realized she wasn't talking to me specifically, yet somehow she was. She continued, explaining how she had lost someone she loved not to death, but to emotional distance, and how that loss had hurt more than anything final ever could. My chest tightened. Her words mirrored my own life so closely that it felt unreal. I stayed silent, afraid that if I acknowledged it, something inside me would break. She went on, describing how she once believed being strong meant being quiet, until she learned that silence can be its own kind of cruelty. In that moment, the sauna felt smaller, the heat more intense, as if the room itself was urging me to listen. I struggled to breathe evenly, not because of the heat, but because her honesty stripped me bare. She said she came to the sauna every night because it reminded her that discomfort can cleanse, that sometimes you have to sit with pain long enough for it to loosen its grip. Her words weren't poetic, just painfully real. And then she said something that shocked me so deeply it felt like a hand pressed against my heart. She said that the hardest part of healing wasn't forgiveness or moving on, but admitting that you deserve to be loved even after you failed someone. That sentence lodged itself into me, refusing to leave. I had spent years punishing myself, believing I had forfeited the right to happiness because I hadn't been enough for my marriage. Hearing a stranger articulate the truth I'd been running from felt like both a wound and a rescue. The silence returned, but it was different now, charged, sacred. I realized I was shaking, and for the first time in years, I didn't fight it. The steam blurred my vision, or maybe it was the tears I refused to wipe away. Rebecca eventually stood, nodded gently, and left the room without another word, as if she knew exactly what she had done and trusted me to carry it forward. I stayed behind long after she was gone, letting the heat burn through the walls I'd built around myself. When I finally stepped out into the cool hallway, I felt lighter, Not because my problems were solved, but because they were finally acknowledged. That night, I slept without replaying old arguments in my head. For the first time since my divorce, rest found me. The following days at the resort felt different. Colors seemed sharper, sounds clearer. I found myself talking to strangers, smiling without effort. I didn't see Rebecca again, and part of me wondered if she was ever meant to be more than a moment. But moments like that don't ask to stay, they ask to change you. When I returned home to Oregon, I made choices I had been avoiding for years. I called my ex-wife, not to reopen wounds but to apologize without defending myself. I reached out to friends I had pushed away. I even began therapy, something I once dismissed as unnecessary. Each step was uncomfortable, but I remembered Rebecca's words about discomfort being cleansing. Months passed, and healing didn't come all at once. It came in quiet victories, like enjoying coffee alone without feeling lonely, or waking without the weight of regret crushing my chest. I realized that night in the sauna wasn't about romance or coincidence. It was about recognition. Two broken people acknowledging their pain without needing to fix each other. One evening, nearly a year later, I returned to that same resort, not because I was lost, but because I wanted to honor where I had begun again. I sat in the sauna alone, breathing in the heat, and silently thanked the woman whose words had changed my life without asking for anything in return. Before this story ends, I want to ask you something from the heart. Please comment below and share one moment when a stranger's words or actions changed your life, even briefly. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. As I stepped outside that final night, snow falling softly around me, I understood something that had taken me decades to learn. Healing doesn't always come from grand gestures or lifelong companions. Sometimes it comes from sharing silence with a stranger in a small room, from words spoken once and remembered forever. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that you're not alone in your quiet struggles, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your engagement keeps these stories alive, and more importantly, it helps kindness travel farther than we ever could on our own.